Denver Broncos 19, Green Bay Packers 17. Broncos, another 1-5 team, moving to 2-5 with the win. Packers fall to 2-4. Broncos defense. Look, I said for the preview show here, the Broncos defense was historically bad, and there's two ways of looking at that. On one hand, we're chasing history. On the other hand, it can't be that bad the whole time. And so the Broncos defense played much better in this game. Another weird game where you had some, Packers, one of their two touchdowns, right? In a contested possession in the end zone and a drop that lands in, was it Jaden Reed's hands, or did Jaden Reed drop it?
No, Dobbs dropped it.
Dobbs dropped it. Reed caught the touchdown. So Packers' two touchdowns were kind of half catches.
Half catches.
Yeah. Broncos win at 19-17.
There were a lot of people wanting the Dobbs touchdown. So it was one of those sort of simultaneous possession plays. They both go down clutching the ball, and simultaneous possession goes to the offense. There were people wanting that to be an interception because Surtain kind of got there first. And they're like, the second he hits 2 feet down in the end zone, that's his ball. Interception. Play's over. Is it though? I mean, technically maybe, but it's never been called that way, really. Other than the only time it was actually called that way wasn't that the ridiculous replacement refs thing where that's kind of how they came to that conclusion, right? Is he got the ball slightly first and at 2 feet down, therefore it's his.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, that's ridiculous.
That was if I remember correctly, the very last play. It was 2012, week 3. It was the very last play of the replacement refs.
Yes, this is what ended the replacement refs thing.
They did 3
that's
weeks
how
of
bad
it.
the call was.
They may have missed a field goal, good, call the night before in Patriots-Ravens, I think it was. And then Monday Night Football, everybody's watching. They do the contested possession thing, and by Tuesday or Wednesday, all right, refs are back.
Yeah. So I don't think you tend to see it called that way, even if technically that might be true. I think this was the right call, simultaneous possession, offensive touchdown. So it was a strange game where we'd been kind of saying before that this group by the Packers are so inexperienced and not necessarily amazing across the board that they're all making mistakes and they can't really overcome those mistakes collectively. Well, they did in a couple of plays. Romeo Dobbs drops the ball, Jaden Reed catches it.
Yeah.
So he overcame the mistake of his teammate, but it still wasn't enough to win the game overall.
Yeah, I mean, you just feel – so I see Packers fans kind of complaining about the lack of experience. And I think when we did our preview shows for the season and after seeing Green Bay in person, you could see why maybe a year from now the Packers offense is really intriguing. Because, Jaden Reed has some playmaking ability, and Luke Musgrave is a big-bodied tight end who can move. And, look, Romeo Dobbs is just – I don't know what to do with Dobbs because he's just an inconsistent football player, but you certainly see the ability, right? You see the body control. You see just a great feel for the position sometimes, and then other times it's like, dropping passes, and it's just not there. And Christian Watson, as much as I'm blinded by speed and big playability, how many times is Christian Watson just not in the right place at the right time? I thought he really screwed Jordan Love on an interception on the Monday Night Football game against the Raiders, where the subtle parts of receiver where you're just not working back to the ball, or you're not running the route at the right angle or at the right depth. Christian Watson has some of that, as much as, hey man, when he gets behind the defense, he's creating big play opportunities. All of those guys are in year 1 or 2. And it did make me think maybe a year from now the Packers offense will be there. And I think we're starting to see some of those growing pains over these last few weeks for the Packers after a really exciting start to the season, weeks 1 and 2.
Yeah, there's just too much not going well for them at the moment, and they're not able to overcome most of those mistakes, even if they got a couple of them in the game. The other notable thing from this game is Kareem Jackson ejected. He's now been fined over $90,000 this season.
Yeah, man,
that's an amazing.
He had was it just off that one hit?
Yeah, they ejected him for that hit.
I thought so. This is all relative here. I forget which weeks it was, but earlier in the year, Kareem Jackson had 2 egregious hits.
Yeah.
Like helmet to helmet, defenseless receiver, just really bad hits. It was like, dude, what are you doing at this point? I didn't think this one, it was on Musgrave?
Yes.
I didn't think this one was as bad as the ones earlier this year. There was probably a penalty. He was defenseless, but I mean, it was, you lead him with the shoulder. It may have not hit the helmet that much. Right?
No, so this
one was a lot closer than what Kareem Jackson was doing earlier in the season, is my point.
This one, so it was bad and it was a penalty. I don't think I'd have ejected him for it, but this was one of those classic ones where in rugby they would use the term mitigation, right? Like it's kind of a zero tolerance thing in terms of strict liability, right? You hit him in the head, therefore it's a penalty. But how severe the punishment is, we start to factor in mitigation. And one of the areas of mitigation is, was there a sudden change in height from the guy that got hit in the head, right? Like, did he drop into the hit, essentially, as opposed to did you hit him at head height the whole way? Musgrave catches this ball, and it's kind of spinning around, and in the course of spinning around, like, falls, right? So he drops like a foot in height as Jackson is already, like, predetermined that he's going to annihilate him with a hit. So is it reckless and dangerous and all those kinds of things? Yes. But did he crack him in the head because Musgrave dropped a foot in height before he hit him? Also, yes. So I would agree with you. Like, look, Jackson has history, extensive history, apparently. Has been fined over $90,000 already this year. You don't give him the benefit of the doubt at that point. Like, he's already used up all of that. But this was far from the worst thing he's done this year.
Yeah, if rugby's using mitigation, the NFL says you control your helmet.
Right. The NFL uses no mitigation.
The NFL rule is actually pretty black and white because it's challenging making these calls, but it also defies the laws of physics, right? There is no mitigation. So anyway, Packers still had an opportunity, right? The Broncos had a game-winning field goal or go-ahead field goal. Packers had a game-winning drive attempt. Elkin Jenkins puts him in a hole with a holding penalty. 2nd and 20, Jordan Love misses a pass, and then it's 3rd and 20, and Love just kind of heaves it up.
Terrible interception.
I mean, it was, but it's also 3rd and 20. Now I'm watching the play. What else do you have there? I think the fourth quarter comeback stat as a whole, like, I kind of like it because it does talk a little bit about game flow, and there's some luck involved, but game flow and taking chances properly and everything. On 3rd and 20, like, Love has a short side of the field out route for probably 10 that probably gets you into like a 4th and 10, 4th and 8 type of situation. And then you didn't have to make this play yet. You had $1:52 left in the game. You didn't have to heave it just yet.
I don't even have a problem with the decision, but you throw it earlier. Like, it's kind of open. He's got a route that's going to run. Like, the guy he's trying to beat is the other safety, not the one that picks it off, right? So when he looks at this,
it's horribly underthrown, but that's never on.
But it's horribly underthrown because it's so late. Like, he throws it, he's waiting until his guy essentially is running past the safety that he's trying to beat before he wants to put the ball in the air. If he throws that ball 10 yards earlier, it's probably going to beat the safety that he's trying to beat, and it's going to be so early that the other guy doesn't get a chance to come over and make the play anyway. I don't even necessarily have a problem with the decision. I just think he's way late on it.
Yeah, either way. It's pretty poor from a Packers perspective, and the Broncos played a much better game defensively.
Baron Browning looked much more like that random month where Baron Browning looked like the best defensive end in the NFL.
Is he Mr. October? Wasn't it around this time last year?
Maybe. So Baron Browning had a bunch of nice plays. Rashawn Gary continues to look like one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL. He's pretty close, I think, at this point to being like full workload again. They've really eased him back into it over the first third of the season. He played basically the same amount of snaps as Preston Smith at this point. I don't know if that's the max or if there's still another few plays to go, but Gary I think he has the highest pass rush win rate in the NFL at the moment.
He does. I did two things I looked up yesterday. Rashawn Gary, pass rush win rate, best in the NFL, best we've seen in history over a certain sample size. He's on pace. I mean, it's early in the season, but it's just for perspective purposes as well, because I was looking up Myles Garrett pass rush grade. Myles Garrett's on pace to crush the best pass rush grade we've given to an edge defender in history. Other side, Javonte Williams looked pretty good. The run game for Denver, Jaleel McLaughlin, usually, the usual 5 for 45 yards, because that's just what he does. And Russ played a pretty clean game.